Welcome to Sage Advice. Today we have a very special guest. Michel Pascal is a transformational and spiritual multi-talented artist, meditation teacher, singer, composer, photographer, film director, and author of 20 books. He's the creator of a revolutionary meditation technique that is changing lives. For the past 6 years, Michel has worked with the Amity Foundation to bring meditation into prisons at over 35 sites across California and Arizona. Michel is also a transformational meditation singer, one of only a handful in the world, who uses his voice and guided visualizations together to create a deep and visceral healing experience. So Michel, welcome. I'm so happy to have you on Sage Advice and to see you again.
I am so happy to see you and to be with you and all your followers. It's a gift.
You said something so wonderful when we first came on and saw each other. I said, how are you? And I just would love for you to share what your response was with our audience.
I mean, day by day, for me, the question, how are you, doesn't exist. Because we are alive. We are alive. Maybe this is our last day. We don't know. So we are alive. I can see you. I can talk with you. I can breathe. I can see the sky. So after all is a mental projection. Good, bad. This is what we project. And when I say that, it's not a spiritual opinion. It's a reality. When you study neuroscience, you discover that all what we feel or emotion are our mental projection. And we are addicted to our emotion. This is the reason why we can say that every emotion, it's an addiction, a neurochemical addiction, to be very precise. So me, I am addicted to happiness, to be happy. And it's not a naive happiness. It's because when we realize that we are alive, and I work with a lot of people in a huge disaster situation, prisoners or patient cancer. When you ask me, how are you? No way, I am so happy. And we are happy because we are alive.
Wow, beautiful. Yes, I'm glad we revisited that point. Have you always had this perspective on life? What has your spiritual journey been? You do so many wonderful things, but let's start there. What has your spiritual journey been for you?
My spiritual journey in this life, I will say, start from an amazing blessing, an amazing circumstance. I was born and raised in Paris in a family very violent, very violent. So it is a blessing. Because when I was a child, there is a church close my home, and I escape from my home to be in the church all the time. Because in the church, I felt peace. I felt a quality of peace with not psychological peace, a spiritual peace. And I realized when I was a child that there is no life without peace. There is no life. This is, the difference between existing and living. When we are stressed, we exist. We do many things. We make money, we go to restaurants, we have girlfriends, we do many things. But we are never alive. When we calm the mind, we are alive. So I had this blessing when I was a child. And when I was so young, I realized that, for example, my daddy, who was very violent, it was not possible to say to my daddy, oh, daddy, take a deep breath. You see, so my new way of meditation, I will say, that I do today starts from the childhood, because I realized when I was so young that we cannot talk to someone's stress. And especially today, the person doesn't listen. And I have the blessing to work for the prisoners of Los Angeles. And one day, a prisoner said to me something incredible. He said, Michel, if you say to us as a prisoner, take a deep breath, be focused on your breath, you are not respectful. You don't realize how life is difficult. Just you project an old map. And I come after my childhood, I have the blessing to co-write a book with His Holiness Dalai Lama in 2006 and to publish 20 books in spirituality and to live in a monastery. So when we come from a monastic life, we realize that when the world has changed and we cannot copy paste an old map of meditation. Meditation was created 3,000 years ago by monks. When we are a monk, we live in a resort. You are in a monastery, you become billionaire, you have no money problem. In a monastery, there is no money. So no money problem. So in a monastery, we talk about a suffering that we never live. We don't know what is the real life. So for me, our world has changed and meditation must be adapted to our world, to our time. So childhood like that, spiritual childhood, I will say, after my meeting with the Dalai Lama. And when I was 9 years old, I started to sing on stage. And when I was a child, when I was abused, I was listening all the time, Earth, Wind and Fire, because the voice of Philip Bailey, Verdine White, all these musicians call an amazing divine energy. So it was my medicine. But it's crazy that many years after, I sing with the musician of Earth, Wind and Fire. So Myron McKinley, the music director of Earth, Wind and Fire, is really my very good friend. We love to play together and I perform at Carnegie Hall every year, now since 5 years. And many times Myron McKinley and the musician come to perform with me at Carnegie Hall. So it's amazing to see all start in the childhood. But I think that we cannot help people in difficulty if we have not lived the difficulty. So this new approach of meditation that I create as a no breath exercise, because I realize as a prisoner say that when someone is stressed, and especially with the pandemic, the brain is running all the time. Person is so tired. When we say to the person, be focused on your breath, when we say that, we ask to the person exactly what the person is unable to do, to be focused. You see the difference between the theory, of course, we need to be focused on our breath, this is a theory, but the reality, it cannot work. So I create a new approach of meditation with no exercise, no concentration, no tips, no challenge, 21 days. You know, my friend prisoners, they say to me, Michel, we don't need another challenge. Our life is enough challenging. And when you teach for communities or for people who have a cancer, I mean, it's okay to have another challenge. I mean, it's okay. So, and today, this approach of meditation has an amazing result. The prisoners in Los Angeles who practice this program have zero suicide. Zero suicide. And we make a survey at the end of every session. And we ask to the prisoners, we don't say prisoners, we say the students. We ask to the students, how do you feel? And they say, we feel good. We feel quiet. We feel happy. So when I saw this result with the prisoners of LA, I say, oh my gosh, if it saved the prisoners, we can save the world. So from that, I start to teach for the US Army in San Diego, and also to teach for teacher, for doctor, for patient cancer, for big companies in America, for celebrities, for homeless, for different sort of people. And it's true, we have 100% of positive result.
Wow.
So I don't say that by ego for me. Me, I am not interested by me, and I don't like storytelling. I am not here to tell you my story. Come on, it's okay. Story, fed up. I am interested not by my story, but by the result of what we do. So when I see that we save lives every day with my team, I have the chance to have many teachers with me. I mean, it's amazing because mental health, it's a huge, huge pandemic, more than the COVID. When you check the Lancet, you know, the famous research, this is the only research, very serious, made in 200 countries to measure the mental health since the pandemic. Stress, anxiety, depression, plus 28%. We have never seen that in the story of humanity. Suicide in New York City, you must know, hotline suicide, plus 300%. So there is a moment we must realize we are in an emergency situation. The mind is so sick. Maybe you don't know, but there is a survey made by the American Health Department, and the survey says that 85% of American people are just close to burnout. 85%. And you must know, Rivka, this survey was made before COVID. Before COVID. So no, we cannot keep going on like that. And I will say, with humility, when we see the result that we have with the prisoners, many people who are so stressed, and we have zero suicide, but there is a moment we must consider that this approach works. So this is the reason why I am very honored to be with you and to be with Dan, I will say, and each of you at Florence Belsky Foundation to help to develop this program. We save lives. We can save lives. It's not an utopia. I mean, the prisoners of LA, they say, Michel, you know, everyone talk about awareness, about suicide. The question is solved. We have zero suicide. So how can we explain that the population incarcerated who has the highest data of suicide, when they follow this program, they have zero suicide?
So talk to me, Michel, about, you've been doing this program for 6 years. You
Yes.
said you were at a monastery beforehand. I'm curious when you were approached, when you were moved, when you were called to do this work, what brought you to work with incarcerated populations? And I'm interested in that discovery that you had, because it sounds like you actually co-created that with the folks that you were serving, your students. What does this practice actually look like for our viewers?
Alors, you ask many questions in one question. Alors, it's beautiful. Rivka, I love your questions. They are very precise. Let's reply very precisely. So first, this intuition of a new approach of meditation came from my childhood. When I discovered that my daddy, for example, it was not possible to say to someone like him, Daddy, instead of to punch your kids, you must meditate. It is not possible. So after I was raised in the Christianity also, and I will say as a joke, in Buddhism, the approach is the emotion. So in Buddhism, I will say it's like clean up your bedroom. And Christianity, it's open your window. to give a metaphor. So after, when I live in the monastery in Nepal, I realized when I was in the monastery how spirituality is unadapted to our world. It was my debate in the monastery every day. It was also my debate in Paris with my Rinpoche. My Tibetan Rinpoche was also in Paris. And I say to him, Rinpoche, meditation, this is beautiful, but this is not adapted to our time. In theory, we understand. In reality, no. And I remember Rinpoche said to me, I agree with you, Michel. So how can we adapt to our world? So of course, when your Tibetan master ask a question like that, his answer was the question of my life. So I say, how can we adapt? So I realize that we cannot talk to someone's stress. Again, if we ask an exercise, a discipline, a practice, the mind is so sick today. It was possible a few years ago. Or of course, if you are rich, if you have a mansion, a big house, if you are rich, if you have no money problem, you can try to imitate the cliché of a monk, of course. But if you are not in this case, if you are in the case of 99% of the population who have a lot of money pressure, for example, conflict, depression, etc., we cannot make exercise. So if we cannot talk, what can we do? We can tune. We can tune the person on a calming vibration. This is what we do in our program. We don't give exercise to the person. We tune the person on a calming vibration. And when I guide the meditation, I use some metaphor, like, for example, meditate like a mountain to be more grounded, or meditate like a wave to detox mentally the emotion. And I remember my Rinpoche said to me one day, Michel, meditation, it is not a technique. It is a transmission of energy. You see the difference between a technique and a tuning, a transmission of energy. So at the moment we guide the person immediately release the tension. The hoof, this is the key. Because we know in neuroscience, at the minute you release your tension, you upgrade your serotonin, the hormone of the wellness. So as you know, every cell of our body is connected to the cortex, like electric circuit. And when you release like that, you send the serotonin to every cell of your body. So you release. At the moment you make the oof, you create an addiction. The addiction of the serotonin, the addiction of the calmness. So one of the key of our program, we replace the addiction of the cortisol, the addiction of the stress, by the addiction of the serotonin. In 1 second. This is like that I will say more than meditation. I will talk about a cognitive re-education. Cognitive re-education. We re-educate the brain. And we do that not in a yoga studio, not facing a lake or in the nature. We do that inside the stressful situation. For example, when I give retreat for the manager of Google in New York City, we don't go in a yoga studio. we go in Times Square.
Mm.
I give retreat in Times Square. We release our tension in Times Square. It means that we reprogram in our brain our perception of Times Square.
Mm.
And when you feel, we do that in LA with the Uber drivers, for example. We train Uber drivers on the freeway at the rush hour at 6 p.m. So Uber drivers drive, and with my teacher, we guide the Uber drivers to release mentally the tension.
Mm.
So when you do that one time, your brain understands. The second time you enter in your car in the traffic, immediately the brain remembers and reactive the practice. So we calm the mind, we re-educate the brain inside the stressful situation.
Mm.
With the prisoners, we work a lot to detox, to dissolve the emotion by visualization like that. So, you know, in America, when we have a trauma, most of the time what we are doing is we talk about the trauma. We love to talk. But the more we talk about the trauma, the more we are addicted to the trauma.
Mm.
Of course, we liberate, but in the same time, there is a side effect. We are addicted because the more we picture the trauma, the more we revisit the situation, the more we upgrade the cortisol, the hormone of the stress, and we are addicted to the cortisol. So with the prisoners, we have another approach. We dissolve the trauma.
Mm.
We dissolve the emotion. And for that, we use the meditation to meditate like a wind in the clouds. The trauma, it's like a dark cloud in our mind. And we dissolve mentally the cloud. We dissolve the emotion. So this is, you will say to me, or many journalists say to me, Michel, it's revolutionary. Not at all. It's not revolutionary. It's exactly what explains the Tibetan master. In authentic Tibetan Buddhism, in my school, for example, Nyingmapa, we explain that the key of meditation, this is integration. How can I integrate my practice in my daily life? And when I say we don't talk, but we tune, Chöpa Dorje Rinpoche say all the time to me, Michel, technique in meditation, this is 1%. But 99%, this is the energy that you transmute to the person when you give the session. Is it clear with my French accent?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, I'm just taking it in.
It's another approach. It's true. We say revolutionary, me, I will say it's authentic approach. This is because in Tibetan etymology, for example, meditation doesn't mean at all to be like that. In Tibetan etymology, meditate means I train my mind in my daily life. I have adapted and I say I train my mind in my daily stressful life. So to finish, I will say, how can we meditate when we are unable to meditate? Because we have too much money problem. It's too much difficult. The credit, the bankruptcy, we lose our job, the conflict, the kids. How can we meditate when we are unable to meditate? So me, of course, when you are raised in a violent family, immediately you have empathy. I have empathy for my parents. I love my dad, I love my mom, and I will be not able to talk to you today if I have a great childhood. You know, there is no there is no resurrection without crucifixion. We cannot help if we have not improved the suffering. So when you are a child like that, you want to help people in jail. And my uncle was incarcerated. So I never came in the jail. I was too young. Kids cannot come in jail, but it was a big thing for me to see that the brother of my dad was incarcerated. So naturally, I remember when my daddy came to visit his brother, I stayed outside of the jail, but I was 6, 7, 8 years. I was very impressed to see a jail. And I think from this moment start the empathy for the students.
Interesting. Wow. And so when you go in to visit with your students, I understand that you're creating something which I would love to talk about, the Mind. Is it Mind TV?
Since the COVID, it was not possible to come physically. I hope to come back next year, but at this point, it seems complicated. Yeah. So we decide to do all the session by videos. And it was a good thing because like that, by videos, we can touch more prisoners. In many jails, there is like internal TV, there is screen in facilities, so communities, shelter, etc. So we share, we touch more people. But I know a lot of organizations in New York or also in LA, like Covenant House, for example, you know, they say, oh, Michel, we would like to develop your program, but we have no money to develop this program. So the fund, the money is extremely important to develop our program. When we see how we save lives, I say, no way, we can save million lives. It works. It's not a hope, it's not awareness and to raise money. No, it's to develop what make zero suicide. No way. This is a revolution, what we are talking, Rivka, today. It's a revolution. So how we work, for example, if your foundation help us to develop the program for Covenant House or to help Doe Foundation in New York. Doe Foundation, it's a big foundation for incarcerated people. What we do, first, we study the 10 situations the most stressful for these people. Because of course, it's not at all the same if you are at Covenant House because you lost your parents, you are homeless, that if you enter at Doe Foundation, etc. Every case is a special case, I would say. It's not at all the same. So they say, oh, Michel, for example, one of the main problems when you lose your parents, this is the guilt. I was surprised when foster house, they say that to me, the guilt for the child. In New York, you know, probably with the COVID, it's an explosion of kids who lost their parents and they are foster kids. So the guilt to stay alive, for example, it's a new sort of pattern, very difficult. So they give to me 10 topics like that. And me, I prepare 10 practices, 10 antidotes, the most adapted to calm the mind immediately for the person.
Wow. And Mental Help TV is how you're developing.
This is what we say, it's Mental Help TV, because of course, the dream that we want to do is to create the first TV for the mental health, the first TV for the communities, especially for people who have no money. Let me share with you an amazing story in 1 minute. I have given a lot of classes in Catalina Island, facing Los Angeles, in a little yoga studio. It was beautiful. And one day, a mom came to me and she said, I have no money to see a psychiatric doctor. It costs $300, $400. I am a Mexicano woman. I have no money. And my daughter, she's 9 years old. And with a fork, she tried to put the fork in the thyroid of another child at school. So she cannot go back at school. She's traumatized with what she did. I don't know what to do. I am desperate for my daughter. What you can do for me? And I saw this little girl, her name was Teresa. Teresa was a bird broken like that. She was unable to look at me. And if I say to her, oh, Teresa, let's meditate, I mean, you know, it's not respectful. And I say, Teresa, do you want to dive like a dolphin? Oh, she looked at me, she was surprised because I have created for the kids to meditate like a dolphin. Mm. And immediately, she said, yes, she was destabilized by the question. And I said, Teresa, lay down, close your eyes, I will guide you like a dolphin. And at the end of the session, after 15 minutes, I said, Teresa, how do you feel? Ah, okay. I say, tomorrow, you want to come back? Okay. She came back like that every day during a few weeks, during 3 weeks. At the end of the month, she came back school. All the kids were around Teresa. She gave a big hug to her friend. She said, so sorry. She said, Teresa, we love you. The mom said, it's an amazing story. Yeah. We save lives. We save lives. One of my students, Anthony, was incarcerated 22 years in Los Angeles, 9 years in confinement. I make a video with him a few weeks ago. He said, Michel, with this meditation, I am an aggressive guy, but you must know I replace aggression by compassion because I have dissolved my emotion. I have learned to dissolve my emotion. I don't talk about my emotion. I dissolve my emotion. Mm. Of course, when we work like that, we work also with psychiatric doctor. We need pills, of course, to stabilize the neurochemical system of the person. But when I live stories like that every day, when I see that we save lives, and to meet you, Rivka, for me today, and to meet Dan and Stephen, it's an amazing hope. We can save lives. It is not an opinion, it's not a project. This is what we live already since 6 years. But we need support, monthly support.
And yeah, let's talk about what is the monthly support that you're hoping to raise?
I will say, for example, the program for the prisoners that we do costs $3,000 per month. It's not a big deal. And my idea could be to develop the program for Covenant House, for Doe Foundation, for more prisoners, etc., more people. I will say you have 1,500 people at Florence Belsky. If 30, 40 people can give $100 per month, $100, with $3,000, $4,000 per month, we can touch 20, 50,000 people, maybe more. It's incredible how we can multiply the benefit of the program. And me, I love to work with little budget. When I have directed the film with Deepak Chopra about suicide, I have a little budget for the film. I love to prove that with a little money, we can have a huge impact to save many, many people.
And what would the $3,000 a month, what does that budget go towards?
The budget goes to my company. I have my company since 2017, and the budget, so there is different thing with the budget. There is, of course, first to evaluate exactly the 10 topic, the 10 situation, the most difficult for a foundation, because we have all the contact with the foundation, like Doe Foundation in New York, or Covenant House in Los Angeles. And Covenant House, you know, they are in every big cities in America.
For our
So,
viewers who don't know, can you just let them know a little bit about those?
Perkins House, it's a huge organization in America dedicated for foster kids and for homeless. So first, we must make a survey, we must work with the foundation to evaluate exactly the top 10 of the situation, the most difficult. I need to create the 10 practices. After, we need to record a lot of videos. And the idea is to produce, for example, 3 videos per week. This is what we do with the prisoners. So because we work one day, the day after, no session, we work a day, no session, etc. It's one day on 2 days, because the day we don't teach, this is the day the brain integrates the information. So 3 videos per week, I will say during 1 year that we produce. And there is, of course, all the logistic that people in my company, they do with the organization to call, to be sure that the video are broadcast, to evaluate how many people are watching the video, to make a survey at the end of every session with a questionnaire, how do you feel, etc. All is very organized. This is like that we work for the prisoners.
Wow, amazing. And so the hope is bringing this amazing work that you've been doing in California to New York.
To New York, and I will say to New York and also to many countries. For example, we work also for the Latino communities. So mental health exists also in Spanish. One of the teachers of my team, she comes from Colombia. She is the only woman who teach our program for men and women lifers incarcerated for life in Los Angeles. It's amazing when you see a lifer, for example. The lifer cannot sleep. Every lifer has a huge sleep disorder. With our program, every lifer say, we sleep again. So the program can be in English and in Spanish. So we have many other countries like Guatemala, Venezuela have contacted us already, and they say, oh, we want to develop the program. And for this program also, in my team, I have 2 amazing teachers, David Dashinger and Tamara Green. Tamara, she's a psychiatric doctor, psychotherapist for patient cancer. So she teaches our program for American Cancer Society. So we want to develop more for people with Tamara. And David Dashinger is a fireman. So for the first, now he's retired and dedicated for the first responder, 911, all the people in an extreme situation. So like that, we can create the program, for example, for 911 in America, for American Society in America. So it's in New York, but it can touch every cities of America. This is the good thing from the COVID. It's we work more online. So by videos, by iPhone, we can touch million people with one video.
Wow, it's so amazing, this work that you're doing. And I'm so excited to share this with our foundation, because I know there will be a lot of people who want to be involved. And I think it's really amazing that you yourself are this artist and this creator. So not only are you're doing this work, but you're living your own practice. You're still singing. You're a film director. And I really just want to touch on the film that you have coming out as well, Never Alone.
It's fiction. Starring Gabriela Wright and Deepak Chopra, Michael Beckwith, and Temple Hayes. This is based on true stories who happen every 40 seconds. Every 40 seconds, a child takes his life. This is the official data. Suicide is the second common cause of death from 10 years old. Every 40 seconds. So I decided to make a film about that, a fiction. And of course, as a film director, you can imagine when you have a casting like Gabriela Wright is an incredible actress, and to have Deepak Chopra, Michael Beckwith, Temple Hayes. When I was filming them, many times I was crying. Michael Beckwith made me cry, for example. I adore Michael. The force of Michael is incredible. And Deepak was very, very, very kind to support the film all he can. And Temple Hayes is an amazing woman, spiritual leader in America. So when we make a film like that, it's a blessing, but it's more than a film. It's also to give hope. Suicide, it's not a fatality. We can solve the problem of the suicide. When I say that, you understand, I am not here to raise money for awareness or to create an app or I don't know, something to be connected with our stories. Not at all. I am here facing you, Rivka, facing Dan, facing every people of your foundation to say, suicide is solved. We have zero suicide with the prisoners of downtown LA who practice this program. These prisoners, these students, they are our spiritual teacher. They are the pioneer of a new time. Yes, we can solve the suicide. It works already. So, yes, if we can develop the program, we can save lives. If we can save one life per year, it will be a miracle. But we can save lives every day. Every day. When, you know, suicide comes from depression. Depression comes from stress. I love when my friend, Dr. Gary Schwartz, say suicide, it's an overdose of cortisol. The hormone of the stress. Suddenly, poof, it explodes in your brain. So when we calm the mind, with no effort, there is no stress. So there is no depression. So there is no suicide. If we want to solve the suicide, we need to touch the roots of the problem. The roots of the suicide, this is the stress. Stress creates depression, depression, suicide. You solve the stress, you solve the suicide. This is the approach that we develop with the prisoners and with the first responder, etc. I have the case of a person, she works for 911. She has posted a video I will share with you, and she was surrounded by suicide all the time on 911. And she said, you cannot imagine how this program helped me immediately. So, I mean, this is a responsibility, each of us. We cannot keep going on to say, oh, suicide is difficult. What can we do? We can solve the problem. It's already solved. We need to develop more this solution to million people.
So wonderful to be speaking with you, Michel. And before we end, I just wanted to talk a little about your upcoming concert at Carnegie Hall. Can you share with us a little bit about what's going to be
there? I am chosen to give the Christmas Eve concert at Carnegie Hall, December 24. So it's amazing as a singer to give the concert of Christmas. What a symbol. It's amazing.
Thank you for sharing this time with us, Michel. So many wonderful gifts. I am looking forward to sharing this sage advice with the rest of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Rivka, from all my heart. Thank you. Thank you for Dan. Thank you to each of you. We can save the world. It's not an utopia. With a little effort every month, we save lives. Nothing is more beautiful to save the life of someone who wants to commit a suicide. Nothing is more beautiful. Nothing.